All right, we're going to do a few different things today. The first thing I'm going to do is, and we'll see how this works, I'm going to attempt to do the test. I have nothing in front of me, nothing up my sleeve, etc. I have created both of the HTML files. So there's the guessing game, and there's the one for BMI. But what I'm going to do is just start with the same thing that you had, the same exact thing, which was basically this, all right? And I've got the instructions in front of me, all right? So that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing we're told to do is to set up minimum weight, minimum height, maximum height. So the hope was, you had this thing in here that const min weight equals 1 max weight, I think we said was 777, something like that. I don't know. Min height was 12, and max height was 96. I'm asking, are there any questions on that? Does that all make sense? Again, those were just arbitrary values I came up with. I thought they made sense. Again, you may or may not agree with that. So that was first thing. So let's see, create the constants, create a main. We've already got the main. All the variables should be declared in main. All right. Well, you need more than just keep going again in first character. We'd also need a height, a weight, a BMI, and what I just called BMI status. Does everything that's there make sense? The BMI will be the calculated BMI, and the status will be overweight, underweight, etc. All right. Plus, we needed the total counters, we were told. And let's just call them toed under, toed over, toed, what do we say? I think optimal. Just call it opt. All right. Any questions on any of that? All right, so now, so far I've gone through and I created my global constants. I created the main. So the first thing we want to put in there is the code to input the height, not allowing for blanks, non-numerics, or out of range inputs. And we're going to do the same thing for weight. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to come in here and we want to say basically height equals parse int prompt. And again, maybe I go a little nuts here, but enter a height between min height and max height. And we could give it a default value. We don't have to. I'll just put 72 in there. Again, just an arbitrary value. So let's see. It looks like I'm missing a paren. Looks good. So if either is NaN height or height is less than the minimum, or height is greater than the maximum, well, we know if any one of those things is true, that it's invalid. right? So if that's the case, what do I want to do? Well, the first thing I've been doing is just been putting in an alert that says non-numeric or out of range height. Please re-enter. And then I just asked them to do it again. All right? So all I want to do right now is I want to see if that works. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back and open up my bmi.html. And I'm going to run it in Chrome. Okay, let's make sure. So I'm going to put in 0. Okay, non-numeric or out of range. So that worked. Nothing in there. Oops. Well, I already see an error. I don't want to make that an if. I want to make that a while. Do you understand the difference between an if and a while? Okay. With an if statement, it's a one-time shot. So if I do an if, it'll go through this and it'll give me an error. But if I still put in a bad value, it'll take it the second time. If I put this in as a while, now I'm stuck in there until I put a value that's within range. So I want to use a while there. So notice the difference. Before I put in a negative number, or that, and then it said out of range, then it jumped right away and it said, basically it didn't even check it the second time. Now, as long as I put in something that's wrong, I'm stuck in there. So with a while loop, you keep replicating the same code and executing it over and over and over again until your condition has been met. So in other words, if you're still confused, look at it this way. That if we look at this, we are in here until we put in a value that is between 12 and 96. So once we hit this line of code right here, this blank line in line 114, we have to have put in a valid number. There's no choice. And the good news is, now I can grab every bit of this code that's right here, copy it to the clipboard, come in here, paste it in, and now all I have to do is change all the H's to W's. And I mentioned to you in class that I can double click on height, and if you look in here, I can see where it still hasn't been changed. All right. All right, so again, I can click on height now, and notice, well, there's still one. Click on height here. Now nothing in here for the weight has got an H in it. Nothing says height. In the same way, I can go over to here, and I can click on the word weight, and it's all those, but it's not over here. Does that all make sense? Yes.
You better E on the weight under the alert.
Under the alert. Where?
Right at the beginning, weight equal parson.
There you go. Thank you.
And shouldn't the max weight above that to the right be 777 instead of 172?
Please enter this between this and this. This max weight, this is just the default value. Yeah, I just threw that in there. That's all. That's it. There's nothing special about that. If you don't like that, just you don't have to set it to anything if you don't want to. But now I've gone through here and I have done this. I have done this. I have done this. And I've done this. So in other words, once I get down to this line of code right there, 125, I've got a valid height, I've got a valid width. So, take your question in a second. So now I gave you the formula. Now, hopefully, you realized when I gave you the formula, I tried to put it in there so it would make sense to you. But I don't want that word inches in there. All right. So that should give me the BMI. Yes. To what? All right. So what I can do now that I've gotten to the point, I'm not done, but now that I figured out the BMI, I can do this. I'm going to put in here an alert that's going to, and again, you don't have to do this. Height equals plus height plus weight equals plus weight and then finally, whoops, somehow lost that. BMI equals plus the BMI, and I'll do a 2 fixed on it right now just so I can have it within 2 decimal places. All right. Now, again, I'm going to remove this, but I just want to see if my program appears to be working. Not that. All right, I'll keep the 72. I'll keep the 172. All right. And 23.32. I know that's a valid height and weight. All right. How do I know that? Because I've done it enough times. Do you all realize this? And you might say, well, why didn't you tell us that? Well, I thought you'd figure it out. That I can sit there and Google BMI calculator, and they have them online. So again, for the weight, if I put in 172, and for the height, if I put in 6 feet, 0 inches, it says 23.3. And I think mine was 23.32. So it appears to be right. All right. So now I have gone through from the instructions that we had, and I have done A, B, C, D, and E. So what's left? Well, the status. The status, outputting the status, and the accumulators. Okay, so I'm ready to look at the status, and I don't remember what those numbers were. So I'm just going to grab all of this, and I'm going to put it in here just as a comment. Again, you don't have to do that. Now I'm going to take these lines here with this alert, and I'm going to just comment it out. That is a type of debugging tool right there. That's what it is. So I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to have to put that in as a comment. Whoops. And the only reason I'm doing that is so I don't have to keep going up to the front, to the top of the program to look at it. All right, so if BMI is less than 18.5, what do I know? What do I know? You're underweight. So BMI status equals underweight, and tote, what do we call it? Tote under? Plus plus. That makes sense? Now, I could have taken 18.5 and made that a constant. Just called it under or something like that. Okay, so there's a lot of ways that this can be done. So that'll handle the first one. Else if BMI is greater than or equal to 18.5 and BMI is less than 25, oops, less than 25, then we know, what happened there? I'm just going to copy this because I'm going to make changes to it, but I'm going to copy that. We know the person is of optimal weight. And total OPT plus plus. All right. So again, I'm just going to copy this. I wouldn't normally do all that copying, but I'm not trying to spend a year and a half on this. So if it's greater than or equal to 25 and it's less than 30, all right, then I know it's overweight. And my toad over plus plus. And then finally, I'm going to just say here, if it's greater than 30, then it's obese. All right. Now I'm going to grab that thing that I had here before, that alert, and I'm going to paste it in down here, but I'm going to add to this the status. All right. So let's go back and run this. Got a problem. F12. Expected token else on line 144. Doesn't like something that I've done. There's, oh, somehow I lost that curly brace. There we go. Still doesn't like something. Token on line 156. In parentheses there. So simple, as I'm proving to you, especially when you copy and paste, to make a mistake. 72, 172. All right, that looks pretty good. Run it again, sure. I'm going to try 72. I'm going to try 100 pounds. That person should definitely be underweight. They are. 72. And let's try about 222 pounds. That's obese. Okay. 72. Let's try 200 pounds. And they're overweight. So I've gotten one of everything, so it appears like it's working. All right. So the only other thing to do, according to our requirements, I think I've got everything else done. I did A, I did B, I did C, I did D, I did E, I did F. And now I got to output everything along with, well, I've got that. And then in addition for the accumulators at the bottom. All right, at the end of the program. So the total number of all of those. Just going to grab that alert, make changes to it. But now outside of the while, when I'm all done, now I want to do an alert. All right, and total underweight, total overweight, I probably should have put an optimal between there. Put them in the right order. It's not that that matters one way or the other, but been having problems again with the touchpad. That's why when you see stuff appear and disappear, that's why. Let's run it one more time. I'm just going to put in one of everything. So 72, 172, 1 optimal, yes, 72, 111, 1 underweight, yes, 72, 200, it's overweight, yes, 72, 333, obese, don't run again. No, I should have one of each, and I do. Question? You know, it's funny because people, you know, I've gone through stuff like this before, and people, well, yeah, it's easy when you do it. Well, isn't that to be expected if I've been doing it for years? I watched a guy change my oil once. My father was a chemical engineer. We had no choice. You could either change your oil or change your oil. All right? So he would bring oil home in big drums. We had to learn to change it. But I watched this guy put it up on the hoist, and what took me, because I'm kind of a dork, took me a half an hour to do, he did it in 5 minutes. So how do you do it that fast? He said, just practice. Just doing it over and over again. That's what this is. Any questions on this particular problem? Right? I mean, if you think, you know, no, and I got it. I did it all right. Well, I'm sorry. I'm doing this more for the benefit of those people who didn't. All right. So let's do a file open here, and let's open up the guessing game one. And again, this, just so you know, could have been done so many different ways. All right. So the first thing we wanted to do was minimum guess and maximum guess. I'm not going to do the string text. It's not that big a thing. So let's see. First thing to ask, does that make sense? The smallest guess we're allowing is 1. The largest guess we're allowing is 100. If you guess anything under 1 or greater than 100, it's invalid. We're not counting it as a guess, period. All right? So that was A. B, create a main. Well, we have that. So what do we have to, let's see, what else are we going to have in here? Well, we're going to have what? A random number, which we'll set to 0 when we start. We're going to have a guess. Set that to 0 when we start. All right. What else? Well, right offhand, I'm not sure if we'll need anything else or not, but we'll, you know, maybe we'll put something else in there. I don't know. All right. At the end of main, we've already got that. Put in the code to clear all local variables at the beginning of each program run. What the heck does that mean? All right, whoops. So each time we go through this, all right, so we want to keep going. So in other words, all of these variables that are right here, so that means that I want to take again, and I want to stick it, put it equal to nothing. First char, I want to put that equal to nothing. My random number, I want that equal to 0, and my guess, I want that equal to 0. Oh, I do need one more variable. How about number of guesses? Okay, so I'll also set that equal to 0. Now, I can come through here if you want and add comments to all this stuff, but hopefully I'm using good enough names that everything that I'm doing here makes sense to you. Is that a fair assumption? Right? So now I've gone through and I've done A, I've done B, I've done C. Next, put in the code that generates a random number from 1 to 100. All right, the constants. All right, again, as I've showed you in class, I'm going to come through here and again, just put in W3 schools random number 1 to 100 JavaScript. All right, there it is. There is the exact code I'm going to use. It says, returns a random integer between 1 and 100. Okay, looks good to me. Don't need this anymore. All right, so what have we done? Okay. We've generated a random number. Well, probably the next thing to do would be to, I don't know, guess the random number. Okay. Looks like it'd be a pretty good time to at least test what I've done so far. All right, please guess the random number between 1 and 100. Good. And it just says you want to run it again because I haven't put any more code in. All right, so something's kind of hokey with it because I haven't finished it yet. All right, so what I did was I created yet another variable. Okay, and I made it a Boolean. In fact, I guess I should have that up here where I'll have all my other ones. Var, and I just called it, you guessed it. And I set that equal to false because I'm assuming that the first time you guess, you won't guess it. I'm just made that assumption. All right. So I'm in my while loop, but I'm going to put another while loop inside of there. While not, you guessed it. Again, you have to realize this. This is the same as while, you guessed it, equal false. Okay? So I'm saying as long as you did not guess the number, and I know I'm going to get into it the first time because of that. I set it right up above to false. Okay? So while that's the case, well, what's the first thing I want to do? Okay? And you can do it this way. I have not graded any of these, but I did look at a couple. Just kind of went through them. Not to grade them, but just look through them. First of all, what are the chances that you guess the number correctly? I'm asking you that question. What's the chance? 1 in 100. I'm not going to test that one first. I'm going to test that one last. To me, that just makes sense. Because otherwise, I'm testing it every time, even though there's only a 1% chance that that's the case. All right, so I would check either lower or higher, and then higher and lower, and then if you got it. All right, that's just the kind of thing that if you, well, geez, I didn't think of it. That's what you have to start thinking about. All right, if let's say that I'm doing a program for Rankin Technical College. We have first-year students, we have second-year students. Let's just suppose that 80% of our students are first year. I should be checking for that first, not second. All right. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say if guess is less than the random number. Well, I know then I guess too low. Else, if, I'm going to put code in there in a minute, the guess is greater than the random number. And again, then I'm going to put code in there. Else, if the guess is equal to the random number, all right, and again, I'm going to put code in there. Does that make sense to everybody? I still have to put the code in, all right, but that's what I want to do. Okay, what didn't I do yet? What did I forget to do? Come on, somebody's got to know this. What have we not checked for yet? What?
Your the check that's not a
No, I forgot that. So this is going to become, this is going to change. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say if either is not a number guess or the guess is less than the min guess or the guess is greater than the max guess. So if any of those are true, all right, if any of those are true, we know that it was invalid, correct? All right, why? Because that was what the requirement said. So what are we supposed to do if it's invalid? All right, we're supposed to say, please, all guesses must be in here, and please try again. Okay? So, again, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. You may or may not agree, but I'm trying to. So I'm going to put an alert in here. And inside of that alert, I'm going to put just exactly what I just told you. All right, all guesses must be numbers between 1 and 100. Please try again. Oops, how I did that, but I did. And again, I can come through here and I can run this now, which is what I'm going to do. And it says, please put in a guess. I'm putting in nothing. All guesses must be numbers between 1 and 100. Please try again. Well, that looks like it worked. Does it let me try it again? All right, well, now I'm stuck in a loop, probably because of the way I wrote the code. So we'll look at that. All right, again, we don't want an if. All right. In fact, there an if will work. Don't worry about it. Okay, so it's not valid. But then what I did was I came out and I typed in else right here. And all this other stuff that you see underneath here, all of this stuff, I put it inside of that else. You might say, why did you do that? Well, if you watch for a second, hopefully at least, it'll become apparent. Okay? Would you all agree? Look on the screen, please. If I get down to this line right here, if I get down to that line, line 93, I guessed a number and the numbers between 1 and 100. Would you agree with that? So in other words, I know it was a valid guess. So to me, it made sense to come in here and just one time say num guesses plus plus. Because then I only have to put it in one place. You should always strive for that as a programmer to write your code and literally, like I said, put it in only one place. All right, why? Because that makes sense. All right. All right, so if it's less than the random number, well, what are we told to do here? If the guess is higher or lower, so the guess of, okay, why I keep doing that, but I do. So if that's the case, I'm going to put in an alert, and it says the guess of, not 67, the guess of is too low. Please try again. All right. Otherwise, now I'm just going to grab this, copy it in here, and I'll have to say it's too high. Try again. All right. Otherwise, I guessed it. What are we supposed to do if we guess it? Well, again, I look up at my requirements. I've now done A, B, C, D, E, and I'm in the middle of F here. All right. So if it is correct, I'm supposed to say this. All right. So now, I believe at least, I've done everything in A, B, C, D, E, and F. All right. The program should continue to solicit user guesses until the user correctly guesses the random number. Well, in this case, I think you'd agree, they just did. In here, they did. So not only do I want that alert, but I want to take you guessed it, and I want to set that to true. Add my semicolons there. Sorry about that. So let's see. Should keep going. Did you use all the right stuff? I don't know if it'll work or not. Let's see. Good place to always start is right in the middle. That was too high. Try again. So I'm going to keep, whoop, looks like it doesn't like that. See that? Guess was too high. Try again. Well, then I know there's a problem in here. Okay. Else, boom, if it's less, do an alert, etc., etc. All right, that's going to get, oh. Well, you guessed it. Let's see, it doesn't like that because that'll still be false. Oh, I never guessed again. How's that? That would probably be a good thing to do, wouldn't it? Well, if I got to this point, yeah, you guessed it was true, so I really don't have to guess again. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? I could just manually put it in here. Probably isn't the best way to write it, but I know it should work. I don't like repeating that code like that, and we're going to talk about how you fix that today in a little bit. But let's go back and run this again. 50. It's too high. Try again. Okay. 25. It's too high. Try again. 12. Too high. Try again. 6. Too high. I don't like the fact that these are all too high. 3. Too high. 1. Too high. So something's wrong. All right. And I'd like to say I did that on purpose. I didn't, but we're going to figure out what it is. But one thing, if you look up on the screen here, all right, this one thing that I did do was after we set this up, oh, look, I never set random number. Everybody see that? I never said the random number equals that. So I never had a random number. That'll screw up your program. Yeah, I think so. Now, do I want to do it there? Okay. Well, the problem is I'm going to have a random number, but after I guess it, I'm not resetting it. I could always just go and set it in here. So let's see what this looks like. It's 2 guesses, 3 guesses, 4 guesses, 5 guesses. Okay, well, that's goofed up. I didn't say how many guesses, but that's still okay. All right, want to run it again? Yes. Well, I know that the number I just put in was like 58. And I know now that's not the number. All right, so the couple things have to be fixed in here. Let's fix them. Run it one more time. So if it's correct, the number of guess in the guess of, what's your guess? Oh, guess of 57 in num guesses. So it should be right. What we call it? Yep. Guesses was correct. Guesses plus plus. Try it again here. Oh, it is there. In 7 guesses. I didn't put a space in there. Was correct. Do I want to play it again? Yes. For just to show it's not 41 again, it's not. All right. So the reason that looked funky, where we set it, should have had a blank space right there. So that was that one. Questions? Does it make sense? All right. All right, what we're going to do, it is 8:52. Let's come back, please, at 5 after 9. And we are going to we're going to flip the order of the chapters. We're going to go over chapter 5 first, and then do chapter 4.